So, welcome to the very first episode of the PERRINN 424 podcast. I am Gaurang, your host for this exciting journey, and today we are kicking things off in style. We've got the man, the myth, and the visionary himself, Nicholas Perrin. Nico, just welcome to the show. How are we doing today in this cold, cold evening in England?
Thank you, Gaurang. And yeah, you're right. It's quite cold actually in the UK, but we are doing very well and super excited to kick off the first episode of the Perrin 424 podcast that we are launching today. Thank you, Gaurang, for being the host for this podcast.
It's my pleasure. Right. So the idea for this particular episode of the podcast is that we're gonna, talk about the journey of the Perrin 424, how it came into existence, a little bit into the history because it's been 10 years that we are onto this project, with great like trajectory in the past few years. Nico, just tell me how the 424 Perrin is just not a car. It's more like a philosophy, and just take us back in time and tell us what sparked this journey.
Yeah, that's right, Gaurang. It's more than a car. It started as a company I created 14 years ago now when I left Formula One, a company called PERRINN Limited. And it was just a car at the beginning. I wanted to design a car that would have my name to race at Le Mans 24 hours. That was the mission. But it's become much more than that. It's become a team, it's become a network, it's become also a new way of going racing and innovating using a network of people, built a team built on the internet. So effectively, it's evolved a lot from the early years. But the goal ultimately is still to go to Le Mans 24 hours because it's the race where I started my career, and I absolutely love this race. It's the hardest race to win, in my opinion. So fantastic challenge. But effectively, it's gone from doing hybrid cars at the beginning and trying to sell these cars to private customers to now actually being much more than that. It's about an innovation network that we are building around these projects.
Right. I have a question with regards to Formula One. What if F1 did not have that much high of a budget? And like, would you be interested or attracted like towards the same goal as you have for an Perrin? And we can maybe call an Perrin as an F1 car. Like, would that have been a possibility?
Yes and no. Obviously, we want to reach the highest level in motorsport possible. But the thing that's very clear is we are 100% committed to sustainable motorsport. Okay, so we're only going to create cars and work on racing projects that are using electric powertrain. We will not use combustion engines anymore at all. So Perrin 424 is all about the future of racing. And the future of racing for me is electric and hydrogen power. So anything that doesn't, emit CO2. And Formula One is still committed, is still invested into combustion engine, and they can't really quite get away from that for the foreseeable future. So Le Mans 24 hours is a better goal for us because this is where new technologies and new energies are going to be used.
Yes, fair enough. I have an interesting story now, and I'm pretty sure you know what exactly I'm going to talk about, and that is that Perrin 424 had a combustion engine with it, right? So if you could just like walk us through of the evolution of the powertrain, or let's say the heart of the car, how it moved to the electric side of things.
Yeah, you're correct. Actually, when I started the company, it was still using a combustion engine. It was not even called 424 at the time. I'm sure some people listening to this podcast will remember the early days of Perrin. And the first car was an LMP1 car, so a car for Le Mans. It was a hybrid car, so using a petrol engine and an electric KERS system. So we didn't really at the time understand the future of electric power, but over the years, it's my own experience actually to be involved in a project called the Neo Ep1, which was an electric supercar 7, 8 years ago now. For me, was the discovery of the electric powertrain and what it meant for the future of the sport, not only for cars on the road but also for motorsport. And I understood 8 years ago that we were going to go full electric in the future for the for the good of to do some good for our planet and just a better solution overall. So effectively, as you said, it started hybrid petrol, but transformed. When I called the project 424, this is when we committed everything to electric. So about 8 years
Right.
ago.
So could you talk more about the Neo supercar, the project that you were involved with? Because I think that mainly opened your eyes, I believe, because that's when the 424 brand, or let's say the brand in your mind, took shape. So yeah, I'd
Yes,
love to know more about that.
yeah. The story was I worked on this project for more than a year and a half. It was the time when NIO, this Chinese electric car manufacturer, that
So
a
what
lot
was the
of people.
timeline?
The timeline is 2016, 2017.
Right. Okay.
Exactly when the NIO brand launched.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're a massive brand in China now, but they were completely new. And to launch their brand, they effectively came in the UK and asked for company RML in the UK to design for them an electric supercar that would launch their brand, a car that could break some records and
Yes.
really get the Neo name out there to the world. So I was contracted by RML to work on this project. I had, with my experience in, working on LMP and Le Mans cars, it was the perfect project for me because the car was effectively built as a racing LMP carbon car, if you
And
like,
F1 as well with the BMW
with
team. Yes.
yeah, and also F1 technology. But for the first time, I worked on a car that was full electric. So it had two big batteries, four motors, one per wheel, 1 megawatt of power, very powerful car, but quite heavy as well, 1.6 ton. So I designed all the aerodynamics for the car, and then I became race engineer because I have that experience too. So I was race engineer when we went to the Nürburgring and with the mission to break the electric lap records at the time, which we achieved. We did a 6 minutes 45 seconds at the around the Nordschleife with this car, and that was the new electric lap record. So I have that experience of going to the Nordschleife, breaking the record. We also did other things with it. We went to COTA, Circuit of the Americas, and did an autonomous lap, which was really fun. So a great project for me that really opened my eyes to that new technology.
I'm not convinced. So just hold on for a second. How hard was the pivot, right? Because I imagine from going like at that age and era where the turbo hybrid itself was such a bad influence in the sense that like the feeling of F1 is gone, and with the new Formula E, coming in back in 2014, slowly taking shape. What was running in your mind? Was it all about like sustainability, or was it about the engineering behind electric cars that made your mind, you know what, I'm going to build this car and it's going to be electric? What was that, the first word that comes to your mind, or the first emotion that comes to your mind
Yeah,
when you thought about that shift?
yeah, great question, Gaurang. And to be honest, I'm all about performance. I really want to build the car that can be the fastest in the world. The motivation number one for me is what I saw was a technology that, with more development, could become better than
Mhm.
any current racing car out there.
Yep.
I
Yep.
really believe in this. We're still on that journey. Electric race car, Formula E is getting faster and faster and is actually closing the gap towards Formula One. It takes time. We are
Yes.
not there yet, but I saw that opportunity. And when I converted the LMP1 into 424 electric and focused on developing that car specifically to break the Nordschleife, the Nürburgring lap record, the ultimate lap record, it was a good bet because effectively now we are on in the simulation world. We have a car that's faster than the fastest ever car there, which is the Porsche 919. So
Yes.
the reason for switching to electric is not only sustainability. Obviously, sustainability is close to my heart, and I love the idea that we can help, solve the climate change issues and things like that. But it's also, as an engineer wanting to break records and win races, I saw it as a better technology.
Right. When I asked you this question, you said performance, so I'm going to remember that now. Performance is what changed your mind, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Great. So let's talk about what drives the Perrin 424. What are the core values, right, behind the brand? So when I said drive, I didn't mean the electric powertrain. We already talked about that. So we're going to talk about how the team was built. It was a slow process, I imagine, because you still work for a Formula E team, and doing this as on a part-time basis, it must be really hard for you, not only for yourself, but like for the team that you have at the minute. So how do you motivate your team members? How do you motivate yourself? And ultimately, I would love to know about the core values of the brand.
Yeah. So not only the car is innovative, but the team and the way the way the team is organized is very innovative. And the reason is the same as for the car. Actually, I think I saw the opportunity to create a team that could be a better team, that could innovate faster than traditional race team or organizations. So there was a day, and that was actually in 2014. So
Mhm.
even before the car became electric, I had that realization or vision that with internet and communication tools as we know them, uh, there was an opportunity to actually create a team more as a network on the internet, as opposed to a team, with a specific physical location where everybody is in the same office.
You were
So
way ahead in time. So you were
always
prepared
been,
for
yeah, I
COVID.
guess, yeah. I was a bit ahead, and I was maybe too early, for a long time. But I have to say, 10 years later, that vision, I think, is correct. We work more and more remotely, or we collaborate, or on Zoom calls or video calls a lot, and it's working really well. I think people really enjoy that process, that way of working. So this is the way Perrin has been built, through creating that network of people. And by the way, we interact on perrin.com, and for people who have been there, they can see we chat on perrin.com every day, and it's open also to the world to see.
It's just our own WhatsApp, which is open to the world.
It's an open WhatsApp. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lovely. Lovely to know. And I'm glad. So for the people who are watching, they're going to wonder what is Perrin.com. Well, go have a look right now, and maybe you can find something interesting. And feel free to get back to me or even Nico in LinkedIn, right? So moving on, very radical approaches with respect to the car design, with respect to the powertrains, and ultimately with respect to the team as well, right? Now, in the world of motorsports, teams are very, very private, and they're very like secretive about their information about the cars, information about anything closely related to the engine or anything very, very engineering like, right? So how do you how do you try to prove to the world that being open, and by not sharing my intellectual property, or they may not have access but they can still view, so how, like, does that not like maybe bother you for a bit, but then at the end of the day, you were 10 years ahead in time when you thought about how to organize a team. So I may be thinking you have a kick-ass answer for this, so go ahead.
Well, maybe we'll see. Um, Again, it's something I really believe strongly in. I'm passionate about network effects and open source, and actually realizing that the value we're creating as a race team
Mhm.
is can be bigger than just protecting our intellectual properties and our secrets. By that I
Okay.
mean some companies have understood that in the software industry, they've understood that actually network effects through social media is more powerful than effectively protecting secrets that allows you to sell maybe a product or a technology. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, a race team doesn't really sell a technology. A race team sells a dream, sells a message, marketing value. That all has to do with network effects. Okay. Of course, it
Right.
can take longer to raise the investment required. It can take longer to grow that to a level where that value is realized, and that's okay. I I committed myself and the team to the long-term vision that that value is going to be created and very big eventually. But it means we have to remain patient and motivated, which I'm really proud of all our team members and the Perrin core team and network and the community on WhatsApp that we have. Everybody's I feel is really understanding of that mission. So I think we're on the right track.
That's awesome. Yeah. Um, well, all right. So now, Nico, you have to, talk about the future now. We have talked about how the car came into existence, how the team came into existence, the core values of, or let's say the core pillars of the parent team. So where are we at the minute, and what do we expect in the near future for Parent 424?
Sure. And by the way, we anytime we talk about Perrin 424, we already talk about the future because again, I believe we are ahead of our times on certain concepts that we have. But to be practical and say exactly where we are, we've
Hmm.
worked really hard over the past few years with our core team of engineers and test drivers and people doing marketing as well, things like that. So we're in a really good place. We have effectively the Nürburgring lap record project is ready to go. It's all been done in the virtual world. We haven't built anything yet physically,
Hmm.
but we've done a lot of testing. We've driven a lot of laps. The car is designed. We have a full supply chain ready with all the powertrain solution that we need. This was like one of the biggest challenge for this car to source the electric powertrain, the battery
Right.
system that we need. Very challenging. It took a few years for me to find the solutions, but we have them. So technically speaking, we have the recipe to go and build that car
Who's
and
going to be the driver?
and break the record. Who's going to be the driver? I'd love to know, but I can't tell now because
Right.
it's going to be a decision that will be made a bit later. So let me explain where we are. So we effectively have that recipe to to go after the record at the Nürburgring. What we also have is some partnerships in place. So
Hmm.
obviously now we need to put the budget in place, and it's not a small budget, but it's not huge either. And we have 60% of that budget in place. Okay, through partnerships, through everything that we have invested through Perrin and my company Perrin Limited. So we're in a really good place, but we still need the 40% more to close that budget. Only then we will start building the car. So we
Right.
are in the process as we speak to go and find investors or new partners, and we are talking with some people about this. So this is an ongoing process, and hopefully in the next few weeks or months we will get there. And I know we will get there. I just don't know exactly when. And at that
Yes.
point, we can launch the physical phase of the Nürburgring record. That physical phase will last about 12 months. Okay, building the
Right.
car, testing the car, and attempting the record. And by the way, it's an extremely difficult record to go and break. So don't
Have you
expect to
have you
that we're going
broken
to
it?
break it straight away.
Have you broken it online by driving the simulator?
On our in our simulator, and I posted a video
Wow.
where I drive it, but we have also two test drivers, so we are three of us driving on a regular basis. We've broken the
Wow.
record. We're able the car is able to do a 5 minutes 00 at the Nürburgring. The record, the current one
Okay.
by Porsche is 5 minutes 19. So we've got nearly 20 seconds margin, which is amazing,
Hmm.
but that's in the virtual world. My work in Formula One and currently Formula E as a consultant is to effectively make sure the virtual versus the physical worlds match. So
Close.
I know that we have that base. Um, so we just need to go and build it and prove it now in the physical space. So that's where we
That's
are.
awesome. Yeah.
The future after that, we have a long-term plan, and that's Le Mans 24 hours with the
Yes.
424, but with a hydrogen system that will effectively create electricity as the car goes around the track.
Right. So it's essentially the same car, but you've got the hydrogen as the fuel, or am I reading it wrong?
Yeah, so it's
Just
the same car. It's still an electric car. You still have
yes.
four-wheel drive electric motors at the front and the rear. Instead of having a big battery in the middle that can only last for 10 or 15 minutes,
Hmm.
we we have a smaller battery, so maybe a third of the current battery or a quarter of the current battery, and the rest is taken by a new system called a hydrogen fuel cell.
Oh,
And the
okay.
hydrogen fuel cell is creating electricity that can recharge that smaller battery that then goes into the motors. So instead of
And
15
yeah,
minutes, you can do 45, 50 minutes. Yeah.
and 24 hours.
And 24 hours. And you can recharge it very quickly because you fill the car with hydrogen, which only takes 2 minutes.
Oh, very, very interesting. Fascinating. It's just fascinating. I can't wait and see the update on the hydrogen bit, but let's achieve the Nürburgring lap record first, right?
Yes.
Ah, that's amazing. I'm just overwhelmed with so many thoughts and emotions, but it's time to wrap up. But just before we wrap up, I have to ask, what's the one thing you want our listeners and viewers who are going to come across this video to take away from this episode?
Well, you know, I want everyone to understand that Perrin 424 is here to stay and it's here to show the way as to what the future of motorsport can become. It's a new race team uh, dedicated to the sustainability aspects and the future of motorsport and the top level as well. All we want to do is go to the highest level we can in motorsport and close the gap between, if you think of Formula E now, which is full electric, and then Formula One, there is still a gap in performance. And I think many people want to see that gap being closed. And it will happen again at Le Mans with the hydrogen system. So you know, that's our mission. We're here to do that, and we're also here to again inspire many people that will be able to follow our team from the inside because it's on the internet, it's on
Yes.
perrin.com, and really get them involved into the following the journey that we're on.
And finally, you do need the investment, right? The other 40%. So viewers, whoever is watching this video, please leave a comment. If you know someone, feel free to reach out to Nico or even me, and then yeah, let's help Nico and the team get the 100% investment for the Nurburgring lap record, right?
Absolutely, that's what we need. And yeah, anybody who wants to get in touch with us, don't hesitate. Our doors always open.
Awesome. That's great. That's great. So thank you so much, Nico, for joining us today. And thank you to all our listeners for our first, the Perrin 424 podcast. We will be posting a lot of new content and having a lot more new podcasts where we talk about the team, we talk about the engineers, the brilliant minds out there who are helping Nico and the brand to build an amazing hypercar, which is electric and soon to be hydrogen as well. So really, really fascinating. I'm sure you don't want to miss this. Until then, keep dreaming big and keep racing towards the future. Bye bye.
Thank you, Gaurang. Bye bye.